Hello and welcome to another episode of James Bond Club Ireland. I have with me Kevin O'Callaghan and Andy Watson. I don't have with me Sean O'Hare. We have jettisoned Sean this time. In fact, he's self-jettisoned because he is appearing on another podcast. I know, right? What could be more important than appearing on a James Bond Club Ireland podcast? We'll see. Just keep your ears and eyes peeled because he's got something cool coming up. But in his stead, we have a guest today. We have the luminous, the prodigious, the eruditious Joe Darlington of Being James Bond. Welcome, Joe. Great to have you.
Thank you so much. Very kind intro. I hope I can live up to that.
Live up to it. You've already put us to shame by what you're drinking today, because I don't have a beverage here. Would you like to show us what you're drinking? A fine.
I am drinking a Guinness. I cannot hang out with the boys and not have a Guinness.
Yes, that is great. And I'd like to point out that it is 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, your time. So
yes, it is.
That's excellent. But as they say, it's 5 p.m. somewhere, and it's even past 5 p.m. here. So
this is true.
Anyway, fabulous. So I've known Joe for a while. I've known you for like 6 or 7 years at this point. We've become friends. We're always interested in the same stuff. We always have good fun when we meet. We always chit chat back and forth. And of course, you are famous for the Being James Bond channel. You are also doing other podcasts at the moment, which we'll talk about as well. And of course, you've written the book Being James Bond, which was extremely popular among the Bond community. But before we get into all that, let's first of all, why don't you introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll ask you a few quick fire questions so that people who may not be familiar with you will get to know who you are and what you're about. So Joe, take it away. Introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Paul. My name is Joseph Darlington, and I have been a Bond fanatic since I was a wee lad, since I was a teenager, really. And as I grew older, I got a little more obsessed and kind of decided to start getting into podcasting and a little writing. And over the years, I've done a podcast called Being James Bond, which is sort of it started as an obsession of all the things that James Bond knows how to do, because the man is the epitome of being capable and competent, and nothing you can throw at him is you cannot throw him a curveball, and he can't handle himself. In every topic, he's incredibly knowledgeable. So my obsession has always been to see how much of those things are actually learnable and obtainable, and can your average Joe really learn those things? Since then, I think the channel has sort of evolved into all kinds of things, just basically everything James Bond, that I've gotten really into film reviews and just commentary on the films in general. But in the last year, I revisited my initial book, which was James Bond, Being James Bond Volume 1. The original was a pocket edition. I reworked it, so the second edition came out a little earlier this year. There it is right there, my good friend. Thank you. And and this past beautiful, love it, thank you. And just this past month, I actually released Being James Bond Volume 2. So so this guy finally, after about 15 years in the back of my mind, decided to become a reality. So that it's been a big year for sure.
Yes, it has. And I noticed that you had, you were doing so much for a while, then you had a lot going on in your personal life, so you took a break for a while and you kind of back into the swing of things. And I think the community has really welcomed that, and I know you're doing various other collaborations with people. You did along with your good friend Scott as well, where you'd review the films. I used to listen to those religiously. I found the banter between you guys really good fun. In fact, it was that kind of rapport that really inspired me when I was thinking about how we would, do podcasts like this. And I thought, one of the things that was clear was that the bouncing back and forth, both when you agree and disagree, really makes for a nice energy in a podcast. And I think, you guys were very much responsible for inspiring that. So that was really great. Let's just do something real silly to grease the wheels here. Let's just ask you some questions, which we put together. Well, I say we. I think Kev ChatGPT O'Callaghan put these together. And they are immensely unfair, but I'm going to ask you them anyway. Here's the first one, right? Just to get people a flavor of your thoughts on Bond. Now, this is an immensely unfair film because the question is, what is your favorite Bond film? But given that we are the type of Bond film fans who are so kind of ingrained in it, I'm going to say, what's your favorite Bond film this week? Because I know it can change from week to week. Or let's say, what's the one that has the least dust on it in the DVD collection, so to speak?
That's a great question, and so I guess I'll tackle that as a two-parter. I think my favorite is pretty consistent. I think I'm always sort of straddling back and forth between On Her Majesty's Secret Service and Casino Royale. In fact, On Her Majesty's was my favorite for years, and then in the years following Casino Royale, I was really I said I can't let this young upstart become my new favorite. I have to have one from the '60s as my favorite. But I've since kind of just given in and said I think these two kind of always neck and neck for my favorites. What's gotten the least dust recently? So I've kind of rediscovered A View to a Kill recently, which is sort of a weird thing. Yeah, it's always been way low on my list, very, very low on my list, and it was always been the silly one. That's it's corny, it's campy, it's all in fun, but I like my 007 a little more hard boiled, etc. But I've sort of found recently. I said, I think I have to stop denying the fact that I really do like that one. I mean, that's a really charming, fun film, and not to mention, I mean, it came out in 1985, so it was sort of like mid 80s action movie. I mean, it was sort of right up my alley. So yeah, that's the one I'm just kind of looking at a lot more these days. So I guess that's it.
And I think it's easy as well because you and I are both Octopussy babies. That's kind of a strange thing to say, but we were both. That was our first induction, if you like. So the immediate one, when I discovered there were more Bond films, like, there's another one, and A View to a Kill was coming out. So I was very excited about it. I remember the cinema, and my God, the Duran Duran theme, especially after coming after the store brand version of the Pet Shop Boys song, was well, what a punch that gave in the cinema, right? So I'm totally okay with A View to a Kill. Roger in the spa in San Francisco is hilarious.
There you go.
I love, by the way, that thunderballs.org, you can buy what's the name of the spa? Is it the Nippon Spa? I think
Nippon Spa, yeah.
The Nippon Spa. You could buy a T-shirt with that on it. I gotta get me.
Is that right? Cool.
Anyway,
that's Christmas started for you, Paul.
That's Chris, dear Santa. So here's the slightly left field one. Who's your favorite ally or supporting character? And you can have that, I guess, as novels or films.
Interesting. I think I will probably say Draco. I feel like Draco. I mean, I almost feel like when you say Draco, you might as well be saying Karambe, Columbo. Like it's kind of an archetype. Yeah. But I love the Gabriella Frazzetti as that character is absolutely spectacular. I love their byplay in the film. I think the scene of Bond and Draco sitting down with cigars and drinks talking about Tracy, just magic. And I don't know if you will ever see anything like that ever again. I mean, here's a father telling some guy that he needs to make love to his daughter enough to make her fall in love with him back. And again, that's Fleming, and you will probably never see that. Yeah. So yeah, I think he's got to be my favorite. He's like I say, you can't put that back in the bottle. It's just that one is just lightning striking the right way.
Yeah, he's one of those great character actors as well that I think makes for a lot of memorable, like Mandara's in Russia with Love and so forth. Actually, have you seen him in any other films? I don't recall. I must check him out.
That's a good question. every once in a while, my mother-in-law will have the old black and white movies on,
Yeah,
and every once in a while, I'll spot a Bond actor.
yeah,
I was like, "Hey, that's so and so from this." So I mean, it's possible I have it, but nothing that I can
yeah. I must
recall.
check it out.
Right. So, what would you be class as your most underrated Bond moment? There's that moment that's happened that everybody just passes it by, but you just think, yeah, that's great.
I think it's funny because I remember this popped into my head at the book signing, which we'll talk about later. But the moment that when Anya confronts Bond in The Spy Who Loved Me, I always think that's a very, very telling moment. Tells you a lot about Bond's character when she asks him, if he was the one that murdered her lover, and he you know explains himself to an extent, but he doesn't wiggle or anything out of that moment. He tells her straight up. He says, "Yes, the answer is yes, I did kill him." I think that's a very powerful moment, and I think it kind of just floats under a lot of people's radar. Um, and I think there's probably a few moments like that where you really do see the core of Bond's character, and maybe we get so used to it that we kind of don't notice little moments like that sometimes. But yeah, I think that might be one for me.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's one of those that, like you say, there's no, he doesn't overstate it or anything. He just says it directly, doesn't he? There's just quite matter of factly, and then that's it. We've moved on, and it's almost like a blink and you could miss it, isn't it? Really?
he doesn't try to
Yeah,
hide it
honestly.
either. He doesn't.
No,
He's
he
completely
doesn't hide
straight
behind.
with it. Yeah.
Doesn't hide behind
Yeah.
the job. Doesn't hide behind anything. Yeah, that I did.
He
Yeah.
knows it's going to hurt her, but he's honest.
Yeah.
He won't
Yes.
bullshit her.
I mean, honestly, that is the thing that I absolutely love. I mean, that the fact that and again, that's all of us are in very trying to think of how I want to say this, but not similar situations because I don't think we've ever been in that kind of a position before. But somebody could ask you, "Do I look fat in this dress?" And you're like, it's very hard to say, So just in terms of just pure politeness, it's very hard to sometimes be that blunt. And she's asking him something that is very serious, and like you said, he knows will hurt, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, he says, "But the answer is yes." I mean, that's it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that is a really great moment. And again, I kind of feel like it's interesting because it's a Roger Moore moment. So I feel like if anybody should have been polite or maybe danced around that subject a little bit more, it might have been him, for the sake of being polite and gentlemanly or whatever. But nope, he says straight up, what's up?
That might even make it more impactful. The fact that it's Roger turning serious. You're like, oh, wow, the guy can act, and he can be serious, and maybe he didn't get enough credit for the way he was able to do that kind of thing. I think he didn't anyway.
Yeah, I suppose it's
I always.
equivalent.
I think that's a great point about Roger Moore. I have always said that I think that he might be the most underrated Bond because I think again we kind of have our love and hate. We're a very fickle bunch. Sometimes we love a Bond, we hate a Bond. But Roger really did. He was when he needed to be kind of campy and fun and light. He can do that. When he needs to be serious, and a little more direct, he can do that too. So I mean, he's got a lot of range. That guy.
Right, Andy, take it away. Go. I jumped in on your pond, so please jump ahead.
It's a group effort. We're all here together.
That's true.
The next one's been crossed out, so I won't ask that one. So what is your favorite real world Bond location? And have you visited it?
I think I'll give you two. One is I think Paul sees this one coming from a mile away. I mean, it's definitely got to be Piz Gloria. I mean that to me has got to be that one has the luxury of having so many elements about it being so perfect. First off, you're on the top of a mountain in Switzerland. It is absolutely positively magnificent and glorious when you're up there when the sun is going down. It's has to be one of the most amazing places on earth, honestly. The fact that it's in one of my all-time favorite James Bond films is amazing. The fact that the location itself is almost like a character in the film, because again, it's a location that was built just in time to be in the film. The play, so much so that they just decided to call it Tis Gloria. So and because the film was made in a time when the lawyers weren't so controlling over IP, His Gloria is allowed to celebrate being a Bond location and have fun with it. So it's it's part of it is like stepping into the scene that you saw in 1969, and then there's other elements to it that feel almost kind of Disneyland-ish, that it's like fun park-ish, but in a fun way, like done really well. So yeah, it really has so many things going for it as a location. It's absolutely incredible. I think my second favorite, I'm gonna give it to the Ocean Club from Casino, and that's another one. Because again, the first time I went, which was probably, I think I went there sometime around 2008, 2009, maybe. So not even that long after the film. So you walked in there, and there was was like nothing had been moved at all. It was like you felt like you were literally walking into that same place.
Cool.
There was no set dressing at all. You'd walk into that room where they had the poker match. The bar is exactly where you see it in the film. The shelving on the one wall has the same thing sitting on it that they had in the film. The painting was the same painting. So just walking around that whole area was amazing. Not to mention, again, you're in the Bahamas, so I mean, it's just being there is incredible. The weather's perfect, and so yeah, I mean, that one to me was, you want to talk about just kind of living like Bond for a little while, go there for a little bit. That was incredible.
You didn't valet park any cars, Joe, did you, when you were there? Or?
No, I sure didn't. They wouldn't let me. They kind of knew better.
That's a shame.
Didn't turn up wearing grey trousers and a white shirt either.
No, I didn't. The other guys I was with, they did, but I did not.
I just want to point out very briefly that the cherry on the very big Schilthorn Piz Gloria cake, though, is that Joe and I also had the experience of getting drunk together in front of George Lazenby, Stephen Salzman, and a few other Bond alumni, which was some evening, really good fun. Which is great.
That was one, when I heard that was coming, I was like, I told I will never live with myself if I do not go to this thing. So that was a must.
I was delighted to see you because I was kind of fanboying. You start fanboying about the people in the community as well as the Bond thing. And I was like, "Hi, Joe, I'm Paul." And he was like, "Oh." And the next thing we were just like, it was really good fun.
That was, I mean, honestly, that was a lot of fun too. And I'll tell you honestly, like, if you want to talk about just pure ego, getting, having a little fun. I mean, I met so many people there that were just that I was introducing myself to people, and they're like, "I know who you are. Are you serious?" Like, I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know." So that was a lot of fun. Even I met Warren for the first time there, and I walked up to him and introduced myself, and he just kind of smiling at me. He's like, "You really didn't think I knew who you were?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I don't know." That's the beauty of Bond.
Jersey making some
world,
videos, and then you realize that people are watching those videos.
There you go. Right.
I think that's a good segue, I think, into how it began, Joe, because I'm always curious about the origins of being James Bond and what first inspired you. How did that begin? So long ago, I'm sure you'll say to us, but I mean, it definitely a marker. I mean, for all of us, and I think it's led the way. So how did it begin?
It's a good question. I don't know. I remember feeling like there was some part of me when I was, again, I'm going back 20 years-ish. So yeah, I mean, quite a while ago.
You started around the time Casino came out, is that correct?
The very first podcast was quite literally like a couple days before Casino came out. So my very, like, if you want to really be technical, my very first podcast was technically in the Brosnan era, and my second podcast a week later was in the Craig era. Well so yeah, I mean, I was, you hit a point where you start to realize, a lot of people are fans of a lot of things, but your obsession kind of is starting to run a little deeper than that. So you say to yourself, well, how do I get more involved in all the things going on? And I was starting to know and notice people, meaning like, like it's one thing to be a fan and to know all the actors and some of the behind the scenes people. I'm starting to know like all the different writers and authors and commentators and things. And and I kind of thought like, how do I get that deep into this? And I was kind of sort of spitballing. I actually had met Lee Pfeiffer one time at an event. It was a showing of. It was funny because I had purchased the VHS. This is how long ago we're talking, of the 1954 Casino Royale, and Lee Pfeiffer had done an intro and a commentary for that VHS. And I remember going to a screening of, I'm pretty sure it was On Her Majesty's, at a theater in Jersey City, and I'm out in the lobby, and there were some things on display, some books and some memorabilia. So I'm looking, and I hear this voice, and I go, where do I know that voice? And I turn, and I see that it's him. And I kind of thought, wow, that's pretty cool, And I don't even think I had the stones to talk to him, because he was talking to somebody else, so I didn't interrupt or whatever. So, and I kind of was, I was kind of starstruck. I was like, that was pretty cool. And it's funny how, when you said before about fanboying, it's like, again, it's like I could pass a famous person on the street in Manhattan, and not even really blink and just be like, oh, that was cool, whatever. But if it's somebody that I know and respect and follow, that's a different story. So anyway, at some point I just kind of wanted to get more involved, and I remember always being sort of fascinated again by the subject of Bond, as somebody who's just incredibly capable, and just kind of feeling like, I don't know if one person can really know all that stuff. I mean, is that just fiction or is that, realistic? So I started playing around with the idea. I had thought, originally I thought of a book, and then just by dumb luck, because I had a friend who was into podcasting was just coming out back then. And I had a friend who was a gamer, and he was part of this gaming podcast, and he asked me, hey, do you want to contribute something? I know there's a new Bond game coming out, and back then this was the From Russia with Love video game with Connery voicing it. So I did it. I recorded it, edited it, gave it to him, and he loved it. So, I was like, this is fun. I really like this podcasting thing. So that was it. I said, you know what? That's what I'll do. I'll just start doing a podcast about this topic. And again, if it clicks, it clicks. If it doesn't, whatever. Thankfully it did. And again, I always joke. I said I might not be the best, but I've been around the longest, so I'll take that.
You're the OG.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it's. I mean, I feel like it's flown. I mean, again, we're talking almost 20 years. I mean, it's bonkers just how long I've been doing this now. But yeah, it's gone fast. But
the natural question that follows on from that is, what keeps you going after all that time?
That's easy. I mean, honestly, because the experience of doing it just gets better and better. I mean, honestly, you probably heard me say before, when you do your first podcast, it's like putting a note, sticking it in a bottle, and throwing it into the ocean and wondering if anybody's ever going to hear it. I have no clue if anybody will even listen to this. Back then, I don't even think you didn't even have like services that you do today like back then you had to literally write your code. You had like a script that you had to write manually, you know. And again, I barely know. I don't know coding, but I figured out how to do it, and I knew how to update it and repost this certain script every week so that the little podcast players would pick it up. I had no stats. I had no idea if anybody was even listening to it at any point. So it was kind of a lonely business. Now it's wildly different. Now it's, again, we have such an incredible bunch of people, you know, that when you go to these events, it's a blast. It is so much fun, you know, and so I think that, if anything, is what keeps me going. It's like, I just want more of that stuff. I mean, to be able to go to London, to go to events, seeing all the other people that you know in this Bond community. I mean, you know, I'm meeting Bond actresses. I mean, I went to this past London trip, which, you know, I met a couple of the Bond actresses from a while ago, and then I met a couple of the Bond actresses from more current years. I mean, that's a ton of fun. But even beyond that, it's like, again, I'm seeing people that I know in this community, you know, and you know, people that I know what they think, I know their opinions. We debate back and forth. We discuss different things. So I mean, honestly, it's kind of a fascinating time to sort of, it's just it's so much fun. So that's easily what keeps me going these days, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, I jumped across you, Kev. I know you were gonna. Do you have another question for Joe on that score?
I do, but I mean, you're kind of answering it, which is at what point, because you talked about the early days, how you couldn't tell what was going on. You're just shouting out there and hoping something is. When did you actually realize? What was your feeling when you kind of thought this is gaining traction here? Wow, it's kind of like when you say you see someone you know and you're like, wow, and people see you now and they're like, oh my goodness, that's Joe Darlington. Have I got the nerve to go up and say hi to him, or will I just stare at him for 5 minutes? So when did that start to happen for you?
I think so. The earliest recollections I have is I had the wherewithal to at least set up an email address. So every once in a while I would get something. Hey, I heard your podcast. I really like it. And it was starting to get a little traction. Everyone, like, I remember once getting, you know, like a kid in college said, hey, I was walking across campus and I was listening to your podcast. And he goes, meanwhile, I bumped into a friend of mine and it was like, hey, what are you listening to these days? And he says, Being James Bond. Oh, I listened to that one too. And I was like, oh, really? So that was kind of cool. Little moments like that. And then it really started to take off. Again, this is pre-social media. Like, you know, it's the internet is up and running, but social media is not quite a thing yet. Facebook is not a thing yet. So we had, back then it was message boards. So I had set up a message board on Being James Bond, and you know, at some point it was huge. It was really big. I mean, I had a few hundred people that were, you know, on it and posting pretty regularly. That I couldn't even keep up with it sometimes. So yeah, that was kind of when I was really feeling like, oh, this is really kind of taken off now and become a thing finally. So yeah, that was kind of the early moments of that. Today, you know, and again, today, to your point, I mean, it's fun going to places. I mean, I remember going to, when we were at the Piz Gloria event, I remember like there's a kid who just he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, so I finally walked over to him and said hello, you know, because stop, you know, just say hi, you know. It's, you know, I'm just a regular dude, man. I'm a fan
Yeah.
So, you know, and then even like at the concert, I mean, again, when you go to the Gatheralls, you know, everyone knows each other, so that's different. But I remember going to the concert the next day, and still people like, you know, hey, I know you from whatever, shook hands, love your stuff and everything, and that's, you know, so it's, that part's fun, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of evolved a bit in that respect.
That's good. And I don't know if you think this as well, but sometimes when you meet people, you know that you have a different point of view to them, or they've said stuff in the past. You're like, oh, you know, they might be curmudgeonly, as David Zawitsky calls them, or they might be one thing or another that you tend not to agree. But when you meet them in person, people are very rarely, you know, not pleasant in person. They're just full of energy and passion for Bond. And you can kind of, bounce off that in a fun way, even if you don't like the same films, the same actors, the same. Well, Andy and I particularly have, we come from very different, I wouldn't say very different. We tend to come from slightly different angles of the Bond community. And we stretch that as far as we can for fun to sort of get a bit of banter out of each other. And someone in the London event came up to Andy and said, "Hey, Andy, you tell this thing. I hear you, Paul Alley, don't get on at all." He was like, "What are you talking about? We have a great crack beating the hell out of each other with our different opinions, So
there was more than one person in London. Oh, you and Paul Lally really don't get on, do you?
We really must come across pretty brutal on these podcasts.
I'm sorry I told everyone that story. So
yeah, no, it's true. It's it's funny. I don't know what I clicked on recently, but I was scrolling through Instagram and I keep seeing these memes, these little short videos of the big dog on one side of the glass, and then the little dog yapping at him on the other side of the glass, and then somebody opens the door, and they both just kind of stop and look. I kind of feel like there's almost even a little bit of that, like when you're bickering, back and forth with somebody about something, once you finally meet, it's it's kind of like, again, we're all here for the same thing, so it's all good at the end of the day. But I mean, and again, I think most of the 90% of the bickering we all do back and forth. It's because, again, the funny thing is, every fan is so different, and it sounds kind of cliche to say it again, but it's, I mean, again, give me your top 5 movies, and you'll sit there and you'll be like, "Yep, that's mine too. Yep, that's mine too. Yep, that's mine too." And then all of a sudden, one comes out of left field, and it's like one that's horrible, and then you're like, "What?" So it's like, I mean, honestly, like we all come at this from different angles, we different ages, and so I think there's a lot of that. I'll tell you, I think, I don't remember if I was telling you this story, but so I had just done, again, I'm only going back like a month or two, but I just did a review of the Road to a Million season 2.
Yes.
And you
did tell me this.
So I finally got around. I did a review of the show, and I was kind of talking about the funny characters and all the people on the show, and I was sort of picking on this one guy because he was really funny, and he was like, "Oh, I'm so good at this, I'm so good at that," and then like it never would work out or whatever. And he was all full of himself. So I'm sitting there going on and on about this guy, and all of a sudden, like the next day after I put this out, Zaritsky calls me up and he goes, "Hey, I heard your podcast. I liked it." "Oh, thank you." He goes, "You know who else heard it?" was that guy. I'm like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Yeah, he heard it." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You're pulling my leg. Come on. Like this, he did not listen. He doesn't listen to my stuff. He doesn't know who I am." "Oh yeah, he did. And he heard it." And he goes, "And guess who's coming to the event on that Friday?" I was like, "Oh no." So, but sure enough, again, he walks in and we're like, I run up to him and talking to him. We're like, very nice guy. Couldn't have been nicer. So again,
was that Noddy? Who did? Was it Noddy?
It was Alex.
Oh, Alex. Yes.
That's
right. Yeah. No, they were nice guys. And shamefully, I was like, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know who they are. I was like, "Hello, nice to meet you." But they were all super lovely. Got lots of nice photographs with them. So
they really were very different, I suppose, how we saw them on screen. Because I think a little bit like that. I was a little bit at times a bit grated watching, and then I'm talking to him in real life, and I'm kind of like, well, now hasn't the tables turned?
Yeah. Right.
It was nice. It was nice meeting them because it's saved me having to watch it because I knew who won.
At one point, I was still upstairs because I was signing books, so I couldn't really get away too much. And then all of a sudden, like I turn around, and Dan was there. He was the guy with the eye patch, and I didn't realize like how big he was. He was a big dude. It's like all of a sudden, this guy's standing next to me, and he's like Ivan Drago with an eye patch, looking down at me. I'm like, holy smokes! So like, he was a big boy, so he got still like scared to grab at me. Like, did I say anything bad about him? I don't think I did.
I hope not. You should say there's 20 gold sovereigns in my case. I'll get it down for you.
Right. Seriously.
I think one of the things I've been listening to this podcast, The Rest is Entertainment, where they're two writers behind the scenes of a lot of stuff. Richard Osmond, for example, he wrote the Thursday Murder Club, but they were talking about things like that, those reality TV shows, and how they're very, very consciously constructed to create tension and create or to very much observe the characters that are there and try to highlight bits about them, and almost, if you like, construe a situation that may or may not be real. So you have to, I see, as a viewer, you have to understand that some of that is a little bit constructive for the sake of drama. So, you know, to meet them in person, then it's a different kind of a thing, you know. But But anyway, just moving along, because I know we've got to watch for time. I just wanted to let's talk about the book, about Volume 2, because the whole concept of being James Bond, and correct me if I'm wrong here, and from what I got from reading Volume 1, is that you seem to have pulled off this magic trick of simultaneously making Bond, or the idea of being a Bond fan who wants to be that kind of competent character or individual, or aspire to that. You made it both accessible and aspirational in equal measure. You know, you made it really interesting, whether you're talking about what liqueurs are, or, you know, places to go and adventures to get up to, and you made it seem like, you know, you can try it, you can do it, you don't have to succeed. Some of the hard-boiled Bond, as you say, is him failing at first and then kind of succeeding, or being damaged while trying to succeed. You know, he's human too, but he does it. I think that's what's so compelling about reading these books, and that's, I think, why you had 200 people last weekend or the weekend before clamoring for more of it. You know, is that a reasonable assessment, would you say, or what do you think what do you think makes these books so popular?
I think they're popular because, again, we're all sort of doing the same thing. I feel like, you know, there's fandom for all kinds of things. You know, I'm a fan of other things like Star Trek and Marvel movies, Star Wars, all these things. But I treat those things like art. You know, I look at them and I say that, you know, wonderful. These are wonderful. It's fun to play in these worlds for a little while, but once they're over, that's it. You go back to regular life. Bond has a very different quality, where it's much more a world that exists, and you can choose to be more a part of this world if you want to. And again, I think it appeals to all of us, you know, men in particular, that it gives us something to strive for. You know, we want a little more of that. So I think it challenges all of us. You know, is this something that we can do and what we want to do? So yeah, I it's almost inherent. It's just very, very natural for you know, men to sort of want to do these things. And, you know, and again, I also had the good sense not to, like, there were certain people who picked up the first one and said, "Oh, I thought this was going to be about how to talk to girls and things like that." And I'm like, yeah, and I leave that for much smarter men than myself. You know, I tried to keep it very, you know, exactly.
I'm reading the book again.
Did you miss that page, Kev?
I missed that page. I was too busy in Paris to figure out where that was. Okay.
Yeah. I kept it more to tangible things. Again, these are the things that Bond does. And again, I don't, it's not about being a different person, even though the book would suggest otherwise, called Being James Bond. It's, you know, it's you know, you being the best you can, and just having the most fun you can, you know, while in our short time on this planet. You know, let's go have fun and do some of the Bond things. So yeah, that was sort of that was it. And again, it's also, it's easy. I don't want to say easy, but it like Bond also offers opportunities, such as, like, again, you mentioned that if I do something on cocktails or wine or golf or whatever, there are specific lines and comments that Bond makes in all of these. So it's always I just know, you know, I have to address what he says, explain what that means, because again, you don't want to have anybody ever say, like, what did Bond mean when he said that? Well, I don't know. you want to be able to sort of understand what the whole gist of it is. An overdose of Bon Bois, you need to sort of know what that means.
It took me ages to find out what the hell that was.
Yeah, right. Seriously, that was back then. It was not easy to find that one.
No, right? It was not. Yeah. So gratitudes for bringing this kind of thing to light. Did you guys have you guys read the book or dipped into it, or have you what are your thoughts on the book? Now this is volume 1, I presume, right? Because I have to say, Joe, my plan was to take a volume 2 off you when we were in London. But guess what? They went out the door like hotcakes. But we're going to get to that in a minute. You got volume 2.
I took your copy.
Thanks, girlfriend. Yeah. I'm gonna get you back to that.
That was another one again. Like I had no idea how many books to bring. I had no idea how. I didn't want to bring too many, whatever. And they went quickly. And yes, nobody in London carries cash, which I didn't.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute.
Once again,
you gave me a lovely shout out on your recent podcast, and I was laughing at it because I'm going to give you just for a moment my perspective on that story that you told, where you said you arrived in, and first of all, you and David saw the room before everyone came in, and you realized it's a bit compact and bijou, And sure enough, it was wedged full of Bond fans out the door. For those who were there, it was out the door, down the stairs, and out the door. People were queuing to get to see Joe, hear him speak, hear him read for the book, get a copy, and get it signed. And you said to me, you said to me, because I was going to help you. I was going to help you, sit beside you. Take the money, and we didn't have a little card reader, which probably in hindsight would have been a good thing to have, because you were like, people would carry cash. I personally was slightly surprised that so many people carried cash, and you were surprised that so few did. But anyway, between PayPal and cash, we managed to take people's money and give them books and leave them happy. And they were very patient. They queued, and they were very, very good. And only one guy got messed around, where I took his money and then accidentally gave the last book to someone else. But we sorted him out. But
I did hear from him, by the way, and I did send him a book.
Good. But I remember looking at you and saying, Joe, what do you want to do here? And you looked like a deer in a headlight, because you were overwhelmed by so many people who wanted to see you talk, and you were like, I just don't know. So we sat down, we beat through it. We had a good evening, and I was delighted for the success that you had. But I think as David said to you, if you'd brought 200 books, you would have cleared them out, and he's absolutely right. You would have gone through them. That would have been a heavy luggage to carry over, but
I'm just going to give a different perspective, because I was in the crowd as well watching, and you were doing a great reading of the chapters, and there was so much excitement about getting our hands in the book, that you could have had how many more copies. It's a wonderful thing to see, and it was just for you as well. I was really happy to kind of see that attention and being portrayed. For Paul, however, though, I will just say this little side story, which was myself and Andy and Sean were talking, and people were asking us, what's Paul Lally doing up there next to you? And we said, he's the money, is how we described Paul back to people. And there was a lot of
penny of it.
Oh, Joe, better just watch it there, will you? Be careful now, because you never know. So, but it was great. I mean, it was such a busy, and was Andy, wasn't it? I mean, it was very, very
it
mobbed.
By the time I got there upstairs, you couldn't even see where you were sat up your little corner. There was just a sea of bodies, and quickly scrolled through to try and just say a quick hello. But it was impossible. It was, but in a really good way for you. It was a fantastic night.
Yeah, it really was, honestly, and I hope that we do it again. I mean, I certainly hope there's another one, and I hope we go to London, because it was a terrific time. Hindsight, I think, will help me in the future. But it was absolutely incredible, and I really did. And Paul, again, everything I said, I meant, because honestly, I knew I was sort of throwing you to the wolves, but I didn't realize just how bad. So again, and you were a trooper, and you didn't even flinch, and you were such a pro. So thank you, man.
That's very kind of you. Honestly, if it hadn't been for the fact that we had such a patient and enthusiastic horde of people waiting to see you, it was very easy. You know, people were very patient, and some people who didn't have cash went away to an ATM, and we just held the book back for them rather than let them drift back into the end of the queue and that sort of stuff. So it was all very reasonable and all very polite and everything. But
again, it's testament to everybody being there for a common goal and a common purpose.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. And everybody was so enthusiastic about it, you know.
Guys.
No, that's 100% true. I mean, honestly, you know, you got a good crowd, you know, you're dealing with good people. So thankfully, again, it's everybody rolls with the punches pretty well.
And we've been to a few of them in the UK now. And what's really starting to irk me is that I have not yet been to a Bond event stateside, which I would really love to get to, because there's some, you know, American Bond fans who I haven't met yet. Excuse me, who, you know, we hear about, and we see them, all the similar faces at the gather-alls and stuff like that. But of course, now you've put the Ocean Club on the map for me. I'm like, how am I going to get there? You know, but I'm sure there'll be something in the future. So yeah, I
you got to get yourself to a gather-all over here.
I will. I'm trying to get these guys to do something as well. We need to plan something for next year, boys.
We do. And we will. We get planning now over the next while. While we're here, will we talk about the book, the actual book, because it's out, isn't it? And I know we had a few questions there. I'm just going to jump ahead now and ask Joe, any favorite chapter? This is volume 2, obviously, that I'm holding, which you can get now. Any favorite chapters or experiences that you really, you know, you enjoyed when you were doing this, going, I don't want this chapter to end? Can you tell us about a bit of those?
I would say every single one.
Well, there we go.
Yeah. Definitely a few. I mean, honestly, there were a few that almost, I would even sort of say, kind of got away from me a little bit. I think if the food and wine chapter alone, I mean, honestly, I mean, that was just a monster. And I remember just working on that one, it seemed like forever, because I just felt like there was no, you know, and the thing is too, there are moments when I say to myself, shouldn't I cut it off at a certain point? Am I giving too much? And then I sort of hear the other voice in my head saying, but the whole point of this is that you're kind of, it's a complete, you know, teaching of this topic. You know, if you purposely say, I don't want to talk about a thing, or that, you know, if I'm going to edit out something, a whole chunk of it, it doesn't really, it's not kind of not the point. So I was like, all right, so we'll keep on going. So yeah, that one, just by its own nature, was a beast to do. I mean, but it was fun to do. I mean, that was a subject that I absolutely positively enjoyed the hell out of doing. So it was, you know,
Did you ever have the terrifying notion that this might be its own book on its own, and then like, oh my God, I can't go down that route. It could be too much.
Sort of. Well, I have had, so here's a little inside baseball. I actually, you know, when I first started to develop this book, I started it as a bit of, in fact, so this is a sheet that I've been working from to sort of put together this book. It was originally going to be volume 1 and volume 2 and the cocktails of James Bond and a whole bunch from the commentary that Scott and I did and a whole bunch of other things in between. And, you know, it was actually Mark Edlitz that I was talking to one day, and he said, that's going to be a monster. And I said, yeah, it's going to be like an 800, 900 page book when it's done. And he kind of talked me out of it. He says, I think you're really biting off more than you can chew there.
And he would know.
So
right?
I did
being
sort
the
of
author of a number of great Bond books as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, Mark was absolutely incredible. He was very. He and I spoke a lot, and he was very generous with a lot of his insights and information. You know, again, I had done a book, but I'm talking about 15 years ago, didn't even really, I don't know, like it was almost like I didn't even feel like it qualified. Mark's an author.
Yeah.
So yeah, his insights were fantastic, and he was very generous with his time and his insights. So yeah, basically I have at some points thought, some of this could be a whole different book on its own, but yeah, but I did want to keep the second one kind of in line with the first one. The whole point was that I wanted, people to be able to have a couple volumes sitting side by side, and they say, I'm thinking about playing golf. Let me tap that and just take a look at it again. And, so I think that hopefully the books work on their own. Like, you buy a book, you sit down, you read it cover to cover, but hopefully what I ideally hope is that people will just sort of like have it on the shelf, and then whenever something props up, somebody says, "Hey, have you ever played golf before? I'm thinking about, setting up a golf tournament, whatever, a golf game. Why not? Let me just grab that, brush up on that, and, walk in feeling like, okay, yeah, I got it, no problem." So, but yeah, some of them could be pretty unruly. The other chapters that I really enjoy the hell out of doing is the travel chapters. Obviously, because again, it's a lot of different things, and I kind of feel like the travel ones to me are almost. It's funny when you tackle this whole concept of stuff Bond knows how to do. I kind of feel like the travel chapters. It's almost like, does it sit perfectly next to a chapter on how to play poker? I don't know, but I just like it enough that I don't, want to change anything. And again, there are people who are doing travel books much better than I am. I feel like these are just very nice little walks down memory lane in a lot of ways. And I try to keep them so that as you're sort of reading the chapters, it does kind of feel like you're there a little bit. And not only are you, it was fun for me because, again, having visited some of these places and just enjoyed the hell out of discovering, like, oh, this is where Bond was, whatever. But the beauty of doing those travels is also because you're putting together. It's almost like I'm planning a date with my wife. Like I know I'm going to come back here with my wife. Here's all the places I want to go, and
oh, that's nice.
I used to tell my wife, I say, I used to travel to a lot of places, and I would say, someday I'm going to bring. This is before I met my wife, but I said, someday I'm going to come back here. I'm going to bring my wife. She's going to be really impressed that I know my way around here and stuff. So that, I feel like a lot of that comes alive in some of these chapters.
Yeah, that's nice. And you and Mary have been together for a long time, right? But you only just recently got married. So
we will be celebrating 3 years at the end of the month. Yeah. 3 years officially. Yeah. But yeah, it's been about 16 years. Maybe more.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, well, look, there's another reason to get to the stateside for us. We got to meet some of the extended friends and family of our current Bond friends, so that's really nice. Andy, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about with Joe with regards to the book? I know you were interested in the skiing side. Can you ski, Andy?
Yes, unfortunately, I know there's a chapter on skiing. I'd love to be able to ski like Bond, but I have to be hands up. I've literally skimmed through the book, but I think it's great the fact that the chapters are on, as you've already said, the things that we can all do. I can't play poker, but reading it could inspire you to read poker. I can ski, but I'll never be able to ski like that. Horse riding, it's things that we can all achieve. Traveling to London, well, we all did that a couple of weeks ago. So it's everything's within your grasp within the book, which is what I like when I do be able to study it properly. I love the fact that it's all things that we can do, even at our tender age of the early 50s.
Yes.
Yeah, some easier than others. I don't know. My skiing days are probably behind me.
I knew mine would get behind me when my 16-year-old whipped my ass down the slope.
Yeah. The young ones, they're terrible. They're good at that. One of the things I like about the books is that I tend to delve into them once I've been watching a Bond, especially an old Bond, and it's something that he's done and I'm enthusiastic about it, and I just want to read a little bit about the more detail. So, for example, you mentioned the Bomboir earlier on, or the sporting side, just to get a little bit more knowledge about it, about you kind of have more appreciation for how Bond did it, and then you go, if I could do a little bit of that, I'm doing something new, something cool, and I'm also doing something Bondian. That feels cool. It's like putting on, a shirt or a pair of trousers that Bond wore, but it's an experience rather than an item, and that feels fun for a thoroughbred fan, like most of the people listening to these podcasts are. That feels exciting, even if it's just drinking a Vesper Martini, which a lot of people will do once and never do again, because that's once is enough with that thing, but it's just the fact that you've understood it and you've experienced it, and I don't know, there's the whole history and culture of Bond that you have tapped into and explained in incredible detail in these books that just I think that's certainly what gets me going back to the book. It just enriches your experience of the films and the books as well, which is cool.
I think it's kind of akin to when you hang the map on the wall and you put the little red pins. I feel like there's a lot of things that Bond has done, and we could say we put the little red pins in, say I gave it a shot. I gave it a shot.
Yeah, I fell off the horse, but I tried it.
Right. I don't know if I'll do it again, but I did
exactly.
Yeah, a bit like a Vesper Martini.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you know what? You always have the out as well. That if I can't drive an old Renault at top speed during Paris, well, neither did Roger Moore, really. You can always you can always go.
But it was a new Renault when he did it.
That's true. Yeah.
Was half a Renault.
Yeah. So so that's amazing. So look, let's just talk a little bit about Bond and the future for you. So what's in the future for you, and what do you think is in the future for Bond as well? Those are two big questions. So let's start with you.
For me, I'm definitely hoping to do a volume 3 at some point. I feel like as they go forward,
nobody's holding their breath for that one after the long period it took it to do.
Yeah, I'll be about 70 by the time that comes out.
Yeah, you can come on and promote it. We'll be all right. We'll still be arguing.
There you go.
We'll be drinking cocoa rather than Guinness.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to get that done. I do look at some of these books and say, like, as I get further down the road, it's going to be it might not be as neat as the first two, because I feel like, in the first two, I have the luxury of being able to pick one from gambling, one from Man of Action, one from locations, or whatever. And as I go forward, they might be a little more uneven. But I do plan to keep going with those. Hopefully more trips. Honestly, I mean, what did Warren tell us is happening next year? And I felt like, okay, just take my money now.
For those who don't know what we're referring to, first of all, what rock have you been under for the past 2 weeks? But secondly, next year's Cue the Music concert is going to feature the incredible David Arnold. Together, they're going to be together. So that's enough said. We will be talking more about that, but everybody was like, just take my money now, just book the tickets.
I mean, talk about a mic drop moment.
It was almost as cool as if like Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig and Timothy Dalton had walked out on the stage. It was that exciting when they told us and when he came out.
Yeah, I mean, and this was, honestly, this is the concert with the 3 money pennies, and you're thinking, how are they going to top this? And all of a sudden, David Arnold walks out like nothing's up. And it's like, wow. So, hopefully more traveling next year. There's actually two trips that I have in mind that I'm really hoping for. I think, I don't think next year, but I think the year after, I think an Ireland trip is in my and my wife's future. So, just putting that out there. Yeah. Right. So my wife and I never had a proper honeymoon, and plus she's hoping to retire So I'm thinking we might sort of put that together into one trip. So
brilliant.
Yeah, really, really hoping to make that happen. So yeah, I got to.
Well, I'm afraid you're going to have to break the news to her that one day of her honeymoon is going to be carved out for shenanigans with James Bond Club Ireland.
Trust me, she knows. Believe me.
There's a few late night casinos around here, Joe. You might be interested in when you're here for...
I'll say it might have to be 2 nights if you're doing down south and up north.
Well, I'm hoping at the very least. I mean, I figure like, I'll have to. I'm hoping to get there for quite a bit, so I'm definitely hoping to cover, a night or two in Dublin, night or two, Belfast, and all in between. So,
will you remind our Irish listeners of your Irish roots, Joe? Because you do have an Irish background.
So my grandparents came from Dublin. I believe I saw the house that my grandfather lived in. I'm still not sure if I believe that was the right house because it was a very nice house. I don't know if maybe the tour guide was just trying to give us a good time and say, "Oh, I found the house. It's right here." But apparently, my father and he said he tracked it down, so I should have been the right one. But anyway, yeah, no, my grandparents came over from Dublin on my dad's side. My mother's side was Irish, but was back a little further, so I'm not really sure how far back. But yeah, so I do have roots in Ireland. So,
do you know how far back it was when they left Ireland for the US?
My grandparents would have been. It's a great question. I mean, it had to have been the 30s or 40s. I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah.
So
they
actually,
left. They started.
Kind of shocking now that I'm saying it out loud.
Yeah, and they settled then in New Jersey or the New Jersey, New York area.
My parents. I was actually born in Brooklyn, New York.
Mm-hmm.
So when my grandparents came over, they moved to New York.
Okay.
So so we were in Brooklyn, New York for years before everyone sort of moved over to New Jersey when I was very young.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean it's always interesting to trace, where the Irish went from, and
it was it's funny. I actually did one of those 23andMe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's like the ancestry, one of those ancestry type things, and I wasn't really doing it for that necessarily. Somebody had turned me on to it because they said, "Oh yeah, they send you all these things about what your diet should be and all these other things," and I was like, "Oh, okay, fine." So I did it, and it really didn't have any of that unless I did it wrong. But I looked at the ancestry part thinking like, okay, this might be interesting. Maybe there's some things over. Nope. Tiny little circle, a very dense little circle right around Dublin. That was it. That's where you're from. That's it.
Yeah, that's it, Jeff. Didn't venture too far, never. No. Yeah, it would be funny if there was like that, yes. Just Dublin, and some Turkmenistan influence over here. I'm not sure.
Something, yeah. I thought there would have been some kind of random, but no, nothing.
No, nothing. Yeah, pure Irish. Well, that's really great, and we look forward to having you here.
So nobody had a bike in them days, then.
I guess
nobody
not.
had a bike. No, nobody was outside of Dublin. Yeah, I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, Dublin in the 1930s probably wasn't brimming with employment opportunities, I guess. So it would have been still a good opportunity to. Good opportunities in the States at that time. Yeah. So, well, I mean, that was New York's win, our loss, but I think we've reclaimed you to some extent through the magic of the Bond community.
Honestly, my wife, and I'm not kidding when I say I've been to Ireland a couple of times, but it's been a long time now. My wife has been dying to go, which I think is terrific. And I think she's seen The Quiet Man one too many times, but that's okay with me.
Yeah, well, as long as that's her reference and not Darby O'Gill and the Little People, then it's not too bad.
For her, it's the Quiet Man. For me, it's The Commitments. That's my my Irish movie that I need to watch every year.
Really good. Yeah, we could probably take him on a location tour of some of the Commitments places. Nice. Yeah. Very good. So, Joe, listen, all we can say to our viewers and listeners is that if you're a Bond fan and you like the stuff that James Bond does, do get this. It's a great companion book. It's one of the best ones and one of the most fun and enjoyable. Plus, you don't have to read it like from cover to cover. You can dip into it. It's a smorgasbord of delight. So I totally recommend it. Yeah.
There are definitely some, again, I won't take it personally if you tell me that you skim certain parts, because again, a lot of it is, some of it is a fun read, then some of it delves into just straight up like instruction manual on certain things. So again, if it's not the thing you're interested in that week, you can do a little skimming. It's okay.
That's the thing. If it's not the thing you're interested in that week, but it's nice. The detail that you've gone into for so many of the subjects, I can't remember which one I was looking at earlier on. There's flying an airplane. That was one of them. Measuring out a shot was more my speed, but it's nice. Just that level of thought and attention to detail that Bond does, which maps out with that competency thing that he has. It's fantastic. I can't wait to I can't believe after our adventures together in London that I walked away without the second edition. So I'm going to borrow Kev's, and I'm going to buy my own actually, and get into it. But
well, I'll tell you what, Paul, don't buy it yet.
No, I'm going to buy. Listen, if you give another copy away, you're not going to make any money out of this, Joe. I'm going to buy a copy directly.
But dude, no. You were my guy. Honestly, I owe you far more than just a book. Honestly, like I said, you're not gonna have to pick up a check for a plane ever again.
Woo!
As far as I'm concerned.
Listen, it's enough that I'll be dining out on that amusing story for quite some time, But yeah, so no, look, as I said, we're going to try and pull off some. I think James Bond Club Ireland. We want to get our. The next stage for us is to kind of build a little bit more connections with other groups and through maybe visit other groups wherever they are. I now live in Switzerland, so obviously I'm going to try and connect with the Swiss group and see what we can do, because it's not as if they don't have a few locations around here we could have a look at. But I also really want to get and then the world, yeah, and then I want to get stateside as well, because so many great fans over there, and we need to get a trip over there. So yeah, that's what we'll do. In the meantime, I think we're going to keep listening to each other's pods, because we're learning a lot from you guys, and we've really enjoyed it. And oh yes, can you tell us about your other podcasts that you've been doing with Kyle and
and Ray?
Ray, thank you.
Yeah. So I dusted off a podcast that I had been doing a couple of years ago. I guess around the pandemic, I started doing a movie review podcast. And we brought that back. And the friend who I was doing that with became unavailable. So I reached out to Ray and Kyle, and said, what do you think? And they jumped on it. So we've been having a good time with that one. We actually started leaning more towards, it was sort of strictly audio in the beginning, and now we started, at some point it's like, well, why not just do videos again?
Yeah.
So, so we're having fun with that. We actually just finished our last, which I need to get on and get editing. We did our top horror movies for October. It was Halloween, so we did our favorite horror movies, and then we sort of picked our tops, and then we kind of delved a little deeper into each one. So, that's been a lot of fun again, and both of them are very insightful when it comes to movies. So it's been a ball doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I must admit, it's taken me a bit to get some traction on some of these, because there are so many podcasts, and you kind of, I find myself dipping into a lot of them. Some of them are great, but you guys are always consistent. You are always consistently insightful. And there's a thing I'd say about you as well, that you have this kind of easygoing manner about you, but you always have you always have a very insightful approach. It's never just trite kind of stuff that we've heard before. You certainly tackle what I would say are established received wisdoms, let's say, about the Bonds, but you always have a fresh and thoughtful insight, which is what always draws me to your podcasts and podcasts that you're involved in. And I'm sure that's what brings others as well. I don't think I need to sell to other people how good the Being James Bond
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that.
Not at all, not at all. So look, I think we've had you on for quite some time, and you've made your way through almost 2 beers. So we should probably wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining us. Is there anything we should be telling people? Where can they get the book? I suppose that would be the number one thing.
Quickest, easiest place is Amazon. Just go to Amazon. I've heard people tell me that they had trouble finding the second volume. If you just do a search for Being James Bond Volume 2, it should come up. I think people just put in Being James Bond and then try to click their way through. Just put in Being James Bond Volume 2, it should pop up.
Yeah.
And
if it's any help, I've just looked that up, and Volume 2 comes up straight away, even without putting Volume 2.
So what we'll do is we'll put a link to that in the show notes. I believe that's a thing you do, because I hear people say it. Michael Kerwin will stop me if I'm wrong. But we'll put a link to it in the show notes to make sure it's easy for people. No, not at all. Okay, so we look forward to chatting again. Let's not leave it too long before we catch up again. And yeah, hopefully there'll be another opportunity to meet soon. At the very least, it will be next year when Cue the Music rolls around again, the bigger and brassier version. But yeah, fabulous. It's been great having you on. Anything else you guys wanted to ask Joe before we head off?
No, Joe, wishing him all the best. Hopefully speak to you soon.
Yeah.
All
right.
I do
Thanks,
want
everyone.
to say a quick one before you go, because thanks to Joe as well for just all the stuff that's been done over the years with the podcasts and the books and everything, and what you're giving back to the community. And I think it's just nice to say that for an opportunity to say thank you. So thank you very much for that, and we'll talk
Thank
soon.
you. Appreciate that. Very kind.
Nice way to round it out, because you are a sort of you are someone who has been driving the community for, as you say, 20 years now, and you were there before it was in this golden age, and now it's there, and it's largely thanks to people like you. And now, Cowboys Lookout.
You were there before it was called a community.
Yeah, it was there before it was cool. It's cool because of us, Andy. But
that's right.
Okay, thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.